Okay, so I just watched this movie, right? And everything about the movie and just everything about the situation is, if you want to call it ironic, but I decided that as soon as that movie ended, that I was going to go live because, to be honest, I'm still creeped out by the movie. It wasn't a horror movie. It wasn't anything like that. But that's not always the things that is creepy. So I'm going to just start with the chain of events before I even get to the movie. So I've I haven't watched it yet, but since the movie Sinners came out and people revealed that the movie was about vampires, it just started making me think about how I used to love vampire when I was a teenager. I used to love vampire movies. I used to watch Dark Shadows a lot. So what made me, what drew me, had drawn me, or however you say it, to Dark Shadows was, I think at that time there was some vampire movies that came out, and one of them was a comedy. So I started watching Dark Shadows. Now Dark Shadows came out in the late '60s, so I'm watching some old vampire movie. But on top of that, what had drawn me to the whole concept of vampires and got me into the thing about vampires, when my mama would teach me stuff about spiritual stuff and when it comes to people and how to protect myself spiritually from people, she always used the analogy of vampires. She said you have to look at certain type of people as though they're vampires. Now this is way in the 90s. This is before the term energy vampires and recent and stuff like that. So I remember things that she would say about don't openly invite people into your home, and not even just your physical house. Not anybody, but questionable people. But or people who have proven themselves to be harmful to you. But not just your physical dwelling house, but your internal space, your just around you. Like, you don't invite them into parts of your life, your world, like people be handing stuff when you out and about, and they be like trying to hand you something. And every time somebody try to hand me something, when I get like bad vibes about the situation, or I'm just not in the mood, I don't want whatever they have, which is most of the time. I always think about how my mama said, don't just take stuff that people hand you. And all that remind me of just the stuff with the vampires, because that's another way of inviting somebody in. When you just taking something that somebody give you, if it's a pamphlet or whatever, you are inviting that information or that person into your space. So I was thinking, this is earlier today, I was like, I want to watch Dark Shadows to see what it's like to watch it as an adult. And I said I could make a video talking about Dark Shadows and talking about how my mama taught me these things about people and vampires. So I have the remote control, and I started looking up. I started typing in the little search thing for it. And I would, in my mind, I'm typing in dark shadows. In my mind, I'm typing in dark shadows. As I'm typing, I'm not really conscious of what I'm doing. It wasn't until I got to the last letter that I realized I typed my mama name. I typed Deborah the whole time while, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it with the remote control. And if you know, with the remote control, you have to go that kick, and you have to do all that. You have to go through a lot just to type in one word. I mean, one letter. So and the whole time in my mind, consciously, I'm thinking I'm typing in dark shadows. Subconsciously, my mind is on my mama, because the reason for me looking for dark shadows had nothing really to do with the movie as so much as, or the TV series rather. There's a movie and there's a TV series. So it was more about the stuff that she taught me and how, excuse me for that, I think I saw that little flicker. I'm sorry. So, I have to do that because I don't have to say it, but I'm acknowledging that it's there. And I'm going to go into detail, like how I didn't do that on purpose. But that all ties into what I'm about to talk about. How I stopped to acknowledge that little flicker. Because I know whoever's watching, if they're paying attention, they saw that flicker too. So I wanted to acknowledge that I too seen it. It did happen. And just to apologize because it went in the direction of what people are watching as though it's going on people. So I apologize for that. But that all ties into what I'm about to talk about. So all that time, you would think all that time, even from the time typing in the second word, because remember, I was trying to type in dark shadows, so I started off with a D anyway. So you would think that instead of me when I didn't type that A and I started typing a E, that I would have noticed something. But I'm on what you call autopilot in a way. At the time this was happening, meaning I didn't disassociate it. And disassociation is when you are psychologically or emotionally, you're not in the present moment. You have psychologically drifted off from the current moment, time, and space you're in. And that's disassociating. So clearly I disassociated because, and I do that a lot. I do it less now because since I've been healing and learning how to be healthy, I disassociate less, but it's from going back way to childhood trauma and stuff like that, where I used to disassociate, and most of us, we disassociate as a way to not consciously deal with a traumatic experience. And so anyway, so you would think that all that time, that by the time I got to Deborah, that's 6. You would think that when I typed the H, that's when I realized that I wasn't typing dark shadows. And I think what made me come to present and made me realize what I had done, because when I type dark and shadow, at some point you have to put a space But I had already typed the whole name. I'm telling you, I had typed the whole name. I didn't become conscious of this nowhere during the time that I'm typing it. Because the whole time I'm thinking about the stuff that my mama taught me and how the stuff was going on in plain sight. And by disassociation, I was oblivious to a lot of harmful things. So I was disassociating, thinking about certain situations. Because what brought me to the whole thing of typing in the dark shadows is some things that my mama had foreseen and had already stated long time ago. Because she's been transitioned, deceased. She's been gone for 25 years. This year's the 25th year. So when I say that this is something that she taught me probably 10 years or so before she died, transitioned, passed on, as our people say. So I usually don't use the word died because spiritually I understand, and this is what I believe. Whatever you believe is whatever. But I believe, think, and I won't know until I do it myself. But people transition from one form to the next. Not just totally what they say die, because die is something that's terminal. Yeah, in the physical form, you die, you're physically decay, you're physically not here. But spiritually, we're energy, and energy is not created nor destroyed. So what our people say and our ancestors say, and we say they passed on. Meaning they passed on from the physical realm into the spirit realm. And in modern day, with spirituality and stuff like that, we say transitioned. So just to give that backstory, there's a lot of things that our ancestors knew and taught us that were more deep and profound than I think we realized when we were learning it. And I think the more and more we step away from those things, the more and more I personally start to value and recall those things. So back to what I was saying. So the reason why I was disassociating, because I was thinking about some things that had happened to me throughout life. And I'm having what I call a cause associate moment. And what's a cause associate moment? You know that movie, The Usual Suspects. At the end of the movie, the detective, he started seeing clues and stuff like that was all around his office, and he saw that the guy had been fooling him and deceiving him the whole time, because the guy was just taking stuff that was in the man's office and just making that part of the story that he was telling him. And he wasn't aware that this man was just taking words and things from the man's actual office. And he's around that stuff, and he's surrounded by that stuff all the time. So he's not totally conscious of the words and the things and that's actually in his office. So the man sat there for hours and hours. I don't know how many hours, but it was a long time that he sat there telling him this long, extended story and fooled the detective. And it wasn't until the man was gone, the man walked out the office, the detective, he was drinking his coffee, and then he looked at something in the office, and the word popped up, and he saw that, he realized that that's the name, that's what the guy had said. Then he started looking around the office, and he started seeing that I ain't gonna say all of, but the majority of the stuff that the man told him, names and events and places and stuff like that, was stuff that was on posters and signs all around the office. So when I say I had a college associate moment, we have those moments when we actually become aware and we see people and things for what they really are. And when we come out of that, when we become disillusioned and not not in the illusion anymore, not wrapped up in the fallacy and the fake world that people create for us and we live in when they're deceiving us. It's very sinister, and at some point, no matter what people try to make it seem like, at some point, if you live in your whole life like that, there's many points in your life that you've had indication that that's evil, that's demonic and sadistic. So, but what would life be if we didn't have these situations and we didn't have these things to overcome, right? So, I call them quasi associate moments, when you become aware of, and how we say in this, like in old jazz terms, where you become hip. That's old slang. When you become, and we still use it, when you become hip to what's going on, hip to what somebody doing, hip to the way somebody playing on you, played you, and stuff like that. So the whole time while I'm typing, because I was thinking about some things that my mama taught me, and because it did trigger some thoughts, it triggered some more. I was already having conscious associate moments, I don't know, for months, when I started realizing, okay, so when they did this is what they was really doing. When this happened, this is what was really happening. When I allowed myself to go along with this, and when I even participated in this, that, and the third, being honest, this is what was really happening, and I shouldn't have been participating in the situation in the first place, because the situation wasn't right. I'm not saying that was something wrong, but it wasn't right, and it spiritually didn't feel good. And a lot of times we go along with situations and we go along with things because of the person that we're interacting with. And to put it spiritually or religious-wise, that's how they say, that's how the devil gets you. They come in the form of somebody who you know. So while you think that you're going along with, or you're welcoming and opening up the door, and you're letting in a particular person, physical, you really open the door and you letting in, and you're going along with the spirit they embody. And what they do is they hide behind a false persona. They hide behind, how they say it's easier to attract flies with sugar than shit. So they present a fallacy of sugar. And that's why I say it's witchcraft. Because when you look at just the stuff that we saw in cartoons and movies and stuff like that, or read in fables and fairy tales, the witch always did what? The witch altered perception. In Cinderella, the fairy godmother, she turned a pumpkin into a stagecoach, a beautiful stagecoach, and turned the mice into horses, and turned whatever little tattered dress Cinderella was wearing into a beautiful gown. But she didn't really turn those things into that. That's why it was temporary. And that's why when people are deceiving us and doing certain things around us, everything is contingent on time. And most people aren't going to be aware of this. And that's why they always have this smugness to them, because when they have that smugness to them, believe me, they are doing something that's below your veil of consciousness. They're doing something that you're not aware of. And when I say all alone, and I could say and confess to this, and I don't care what people try to lie and tell themselves, they always have been telling on themselves all along. But we were fooled by the who and not the what. And then that's when I started thinking about, even as time go on and on and on, the more and more we are pulled away from that type of learning those type of things. Of course, because people want to fool us, and they want to do it and get away with it, and we're not privy to what they're doing. And so anyway, so back to the conscious social moment. So when I thought about the whole thing that I was pulling up dark shadows about anyway, was about the stuff that my mama taught me, and I'm thinking about how I let certain entities in through people. And that goes to trust. If you don't have any evidence that somebody can be trusted, and even to the opposite of that, where you have all the evidence in the world that somebody can't be trusted, when the evidence points that that person can't be trusted, we're already lowered in and lulled in and rockabye and mesmerized into the fallacy. So it's like a witch. And always look at the time. And I mean like the time intervals of situations when it comes to certain people. And that's will give you an idea of something is not right. So I was thinking about the situations that I had to, in religion or in Christianity, they say repent. But I had to really go back on some things that I had went along with, and I had to, I don't know how to put this, purge myself. I had to admit of the wrong that I did, which in Christianity is repenting. So the whole time I'm typing in with the TV remote, I was disassociated the whole time. I wasn't present. I wasn't presently focusing on what I was doing. I had literally disassociated. I was somewhere else. So I was really thinking about more stuff that I now am disillusioned, meaning now the illusion is gone, the spell has worn off, and I see some things for what those things really are, and I'm looking at the role that I played and the things that I did, that it shouldn't matter about the who. It shouldn't, because the what, when it comes to me, was wrong. And that's what in situations we tend to compromise our morals. So, okay, I think that's enough of me talking about that. So, I'm a loquacious Gemini. That means that I can do some talking. So, I typed in the movie, and then I typed in the name, and I was about to go delete and type in Dark Shadows, and my spirit said, look at the screen and look to see if an actual movie popped up. So beneath the little box, box with the words and letter that you type in, it show you the stuff that pulled up and the background faded out. And sure enough, there was a movie down there. I say, wouldn't it be something if they actually have a movie named Deborah? So I hit enter or whatever, you hit return or whatever to make the box go away so I could pull up what I typed. And sure enough, there was one movie named Deborah. So I said, I was about to just dismiss it. I said, don't do that. Remember what coincidences are real. Don't do that. It must be a reason why you pulled that up. Don't erase that. So what I did was I saved the movie, because I still wanted to know my initial question of if I could find Dark Shadows, which I didn't find Dark Shadows. Nothing came up. So I went back to the movie, and my spirit said, just go watch the movie, because I bet you it's going to be something spiritual, some message and something decoded, and your mama probably talking to you through the movie. I bet you. So I pulled up the movie, and I just queued the movie. So I had the movie queued, and I still typed in Dark Shadows. I went to my the phone browser and typed in Dark Shadows to see where I could watch Dark Shadows. So by the time I did all that, I was like, I don't even know if I want to watch Dark Shadows or if it's needed for me to watch Dark Shadows, because it don't even seem like Dark Shadows was really the real issue. It seemed like that was the spark, the thing that sparked the thought that reminded me of some things that I did where I was dead wrong, meaning I have some spiritual karma that I haven't paid for. I have some spiritual karma that I have to clear up, because that's what happens when you go along with things. If people if you're being deceived or not, if you go along with something and you physically do something, or I'm just talking like it could just be going along with gossip, going along with saying something about somebody, going along with even laughing at a situation that you shouldn't be laughing at, but just going along with somebody else when that's not even who you are, when you're not around that person or you're not engaged with that person. And that's why I tell people, if for any reason that I affect you in a way that is not conducive of the person you want to be, if any way that have any negative effect on you, or if any way you're a better person without me, let me go. And I mean it. I meant it, and I still mean it. Let me go. Because I don't want that type of karma on me, because the karma isn't just on me. The karma is also on that person. But you have to look at the fact of a person's we're already living out our karma. We come on this earth, we're living out our karma anyway. We're already, so, and another person, just like if somebody goes into financial debt, when you go into so much financial debt, it'd be like, F it, you know what I'm saying? it be to a point of some things is irreparable at that point. You're not going to get out of it. So sometimes people are in a karmic debt that they either have already come on this earth with, or they have incurred while on this earth, that's not going to hurt them as much as it will hurt you. Because it was easier for me to get out of debt if I'm only $5,000 in debt, and that person is $5 billion in debt. So they know that they're not going to get out there, and they already been living out that karma. So, sure enough, watched the movie Deborah. Came out in 2022. Watched the movie, and the whole movie, you knew something was up in the beginning. So all I read with the description was some friends, they go and they have a gathering or whatever, and I didn't read the rest and didn't try to pull up the whole description. So I didn't want to. I barely wanted to. I was just so curious because I didn't watch the movie, and either I went and go finish getting ready for, well, it was afternoon by now, but really getting ready for my day. So I wanted to finish doing everything that I was doing before I just sat down and just was able to chill and watch the movie. So it wasn't that long, but I just went did the little stuff the remainder of stuff that I had to do. So I just being a little curious, I just clicked on it to read it, and it didn't give me much details other than some friends want me to. So in the beginning of the movie, you start noticing something strange in the very beginning. There is like a Siri. This is the invention that the guy he made. It's a little device, bigger than what a little Siri thing is, but it's a type of Siri. So she's on a whole another level of Siri, because not only will she pull up information off the web, she interacting with the people around. She answering people and calling people names and stuff like that. So you're like, okay, this all, this something else. So that's when when the characters, instead of saying Siri, the character said Deborah. So the device, the next level Siri device name was Deborah. So I said, oh, this is gonna be good. So you saw some little things that happened, and then the first thing that happened, you already got a little indication that something was going to end up being about the relationship with the friends. And for me, I guess at the age I am, at the characters who are friends, they were friends since high school. So at this time that they're meeting up, they're 30 years old now. So they're out of high school quite some time. So by the time you get into your 30s, really by the time you get into your late 20s, but definitely by the time you're in your 30s, you start to really, probably by the time I was 30, I didn't have any relationship with anybody I was in high school with. But when you're in your early 20s and you're just getting out of high school, you still have connection to those people. Just like when in college. So when you leave college, and initially you still have some connection to these people, to the friends that you made, and you communicate with and stuff like that. And what happens is life takes you in different directions, and it's not like you really fall out so much as you start to grow and you start to live a life where your life take you into a different direction, or you just become a different person when you're growing. And the whole thing with me, and even with high school friends, and a lot of people, they think or say that they still have contact or relationship with high school friends, and I don't find a problem with that. But most of the time, by the time we get in our 30s and beyond, unless you just have like that friend that you really y'all could grow throughout y'all life together. So there are situations, it's rare, but there is situations, and that's what makes it so cool when you do have a friend that have been there since high school or since elementary school or stuff like that, or even preschool. You know what I'm saying? What makes it so cool is because it's rare. Because it's rare in any instance to have a person, let alone a group of people, where you could grow with and you have grown with. So it's rare for that to happen with one person, let alone to keep up a whole group of friends throughout all that time, you know. So I knew something was up with the whole situation, and there was little cues from the very beginning that, you know, something was up with the friendship group. So other than the movie itself, they're giving you cues in the movie, I just knew, just the age wise, that something's gonna be up with this because it's such a large group of friends and it's still the original friend group from high school. I knew something was gonna be up with it. So anyway, so when they first called name, I was gonna say Siri. When they first called the little Siri next level Siri device name Deborah, and they said Deborah. Look, I keep calling her name. I wonder what that's gonna do, because when you keep calling somebody's name spiritually, and she's already here as an ancestor, and so what is that doing? You never know what the intention is, and that's why you have to keep yourself on a not just a high frequency, but definitely a high frequency. But you have to keep yourself on the frequency where you emit positive energy, you emit goodness. And that doesn't mean that everything you do is good and stuff like that. That's why I say I don't even use the term good or bad. No, that doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean that every time you made a mistake that you have to repent for it and you did wrong. Life brings us through obstacles and brings us through things where everything we do is not going to be on the up and up. Everything that we do is not going to be. We're gonna do harmful things throughout life, and there's always intent. But usually, people grow and people feel sorry for that, and people have shame for that, and people repent for those things, and you know that's why it's like you really never know what you're dealing with. And that's why time is of the essence, and not in the way of rushing, in the actual reverse of that, not rushing, taking time. Just like if you've ever been in a toxic relationship, if you've ever been with a narcissist, you see that when somebody's trying to play you, either be a relationship or somebody just running game on you, or even if they're running a financial game on you, they always rushing. And I ain't gonna give a cue to other things they do, but let's just leave it at rushing, fast-paced rushing. So I had to learn to, when somebody rushing, to draw the time back. So meaning if they're rushing, I'm going to take even more time at getting to the point. I'm going to take even more time to analyze the situation while they're rushing. So, sure enough, we find out early on in the movie that the Deborah AI thing. It could stop time, reverse time. The first thing that happened was the lady, she dropped the wine bottle, and she called. That's when she first called out. She said, "Deborah," and then her husband said something like, "Wait, don't do that." And she's like, "Just this one time." And he was like, "I thought we said we wasn't gonna do it." He said, and she was like, "Well, just this one time," and that reversed the time, and the wine bottle that she dropped, that whole situation didn't happen. So when she said, "Siri, go back," and however much time she told Siri, I said Siri, the Deborah device to go back, it went back in how many minutes or seconds, and that means from that time that it didn't happen. So it goes on, they go on in real time, and the bottle never dropped and such and such. And the next thing that happened, one of the friends, she spilled a glass of white wine on their white carpet. So I think the man, the husband this time, tells the device to go back in time. So it's not just that she wasted the wine. It's just that they had a real moment where the friends started pretty much going in on her about her life and the direction her life took and the person that she ended up being. So he was reversing time, not so much of as about the wine stain, but as so much of the stuff that they told her that pretty much hurt her feelings, and it put a damper on the whole situation. So he went back in time, so that didn't happen, and they just went back forward in time. So I thought I'm just, this is a kind of a sidebar, but it does relate to the movie. When they first did that reverse time and stuff like that, I said, "Oh my goodness!" And this is just me being a person who have been SA quite a few times. It's like I was like, "Ew!" I was like creeped out because I was like, in the hands of a perv or a total weirdo, they'll SA somebody and they'll rewind the time like it didn't happen so the person don't remember. And then as soon as I thought of that, I started thinking about toxic, dysfunctional groups and units. I started thinking about, isn't that what we do when somebody hurt our feelings or awkward moment and real moments happen and we don't unpack those moments, we don't have a real conversation about it, we don't emotionally process and emotionally deal with it, just like toxic families, dysfunctional families. You just gloss over and you act like it don't happen and you just go forward in time like it didn't happen. And then that's when I started thinking, I said, I bet you that's where this movie going. And sure enough, that's where the movie went. So as a matter of fact, the main character guy, he actually created the AI that device, that Deborah device. He created her. And what happened was they did a reversal. I can't remember who did the reversal. They had a reversal, and they did the stop, pause, and reverse. They did a pause. I think the wife did a pause. And when it went back in time for a time, everybody started saying, no, something wrong. Like, how the dog just teleported from here to there. And he was about to kick over that thing. And it didn't, you know what I'm saying? Because they didn't go back in time. What they did was pause time and then went forward. And that's when everybody's like, no, this not right. Something happened, something not right. And they all started noticing. So, that's when they fessed up and told the friends and told everybody about what that AI, that Deborah device is and what she do when they start. So they said, but don't just promise that y'all not gonna use it. So then they had like this uh whole block of time in this whole part of the movie where it's just like things that happen and somebody will say something that it's like, okay, I shouldn't have said that, and then shoo, reverse, and then somebody just say something, and somebody else like, no, that's gonna cause my reverse. So the whole time they all call their name, they all stop it and rewind the time. It's just like it kept happening, kept happening. And I was thinking out the whole time, I was like, what does that do to the timeline? But they never addressed that. Now this isn't like a real scientific sci-fi movie, and it's not about anything scientific to even go into detail about how this is possible. So it didn't make sense for me to try to go into detail about what that would even affect the real timeline of life, which, if that type of stuff happened, that would, in reality, that would affect the timeline. But it doesn't happen in reality. It happens in those unspoken moments. It happens in those moments where you don't respect or acknowledge the truth. And when that becomes the whole cycle and system, when that becomes just the nature of the relationship or relationships or the unit of people, then that's what happens. It's not like you're reversing time, and that's why I say it don't make sense to try to scientifically prove this, because it's making a point. The movie was making a point. But we are doing that metaphorically. So sure enough, the guy who made the AI device, he stood up there. Come to find out, he had a crush on one of the girls that they ended up being friends in high school. So he ended up. There was one moment or two moments where he'll call her into the room and he'll kiss her, and then she'll be like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And he'll reverse the time, so she don't remember it. And the second time he did it, she was feeling creepy and eerie, and she's like, something felt weird. And then she asked one time, she said, "Did you do the time reversal thing on me?" And she was like, "Cause something just feels off. Something doesn't feel right." So he finally admitted that he did the time reversal thing. And when she asked why, he never said why, but he started describing why she was able to feel it. And he said he basically a perv, like a person. Like he basically like an offender, or whatever you call him. He started going into the story about when they were younger, and when before they were friends, and he told her about how he felt about her and feelings he had for her his friends. They were in high school, and she said something that hurt his feelings, and she felt bad about it. And to make up for it, she baked him cookies or something like that, whatever she baked him, and she brought it to his house and apologized to him. And from that moment, they became actual friends. So he said, "Now see, I don't remember." I'm telling you, this is just like how a violator do. He said, "I don't remember what you actually said, but we became friends after that." He said, "But I do remember how it felt." And he said, well, that's what you're feeling. He said, the memory is here, meaning in your heart, but it's gone, erased from your head. And he said, that's what happens when every time the AI, the device, reverses time, that they're still, because you'll see, like, throughout the whole process, you'll see sometimes people will stop and they'll be like something weird, but most of the time the time just going on and people not noticing. But there were quite a few times where people was like, wait, what's going on here, you know? So and that to me also describes what it's like to be in that type of toxic system, either be friends, family, work environment, religious organization, whatever that little group is. That's what it's like. It's always in your hearts or your emotion. Your emotions are really up here, but it's always in emotionally. You remember these things, even if it's pushed back in your subconscious, because that's pretty much what you're doing. And when you keep pushing things back and back into your subconscious, that's what happens when we start to disassociate. And that becomes a regular routine. That is going back to what I was talking about earlier when I said it was going to connect to the movie. So it gets to the end and they start going crazy on each other, attacking each other, and they killed each other. Literally, they got into this volatile, very bad fight where they started attacking each other. At the end, it was only two of them that was able to halfway wake up from it. They not wake up, but they were still alive, in bad shape, but they were still alive. Two of them was like in bad shape and alive. And they told the device to go back in time to from before the fight and stuff like that. And the device had become its artificial intelligence, so it became so intelligent until she said no. You know, so then the two characters, I think they were talking, and the guy, he didn't grow up with them. Like some people who were there were in relationships with the friends. So they had about three people who, two of them were new. They were dating the friends, and the wife and the husband. She was not the friend in high school, but this wasn't the first time that they've had been around each other. She's become a part of the group because she's been there for enough time. So they had two people who were new, and they were looking from the outside. So they did analyze how the person on the outside is looking at it. And one of the ladies, she had a conversation with the guy about what it's like, because he was like, you could tell throughout the whole thing that he's looking like, what the F is going on? What's up with these people? And one of the females, she was dating one of the guy friends. And she had a moment where she had her little moment where she started telling them off and speaking her truth about how when he's around them, he's a different person. And he stagnates and he goes back in time like he's in high school. And she's like, but he doesn't act like this. You know what I'm saying? So all that just reminded me of trauma bonding, codependency, and not outgrowing or growing in situations when it comes with family and friends and stuff like that. And I'm saying just even from my personal experience of I'm not that person, and just because you're so used to playing out these roles, And they did address this about the role. Actually, the woman who said that he's not like this, she said, it's like he's playing this role and y'all just have these roles y'all have and stuff like that. So, and that's what it's like. You're acting out a role that when you're outside and you're not interacting and you're not inside this group, you're not even that person. You don't even act like that. You could be a totally mature person or be on a whole another level, and then when you get into this codependent group, you start to emotionally regress. You start to act out whatever age they trapped you at, or they that your role is assigned to you, which is, ironically enough, it's not like it's a group effort and you get to choose who you are and choose what role is. Those roles are handed out and assigned, and that's another story for another day about the who and why. So what happened was the guy who was him and the lady who are new, the guy, he was still alive at the end. And what the girl who was the friend of the guy who made the little AI device, actually the one who baked them the stuff, and they became friends after whatever happened, hurt his little feelings. And oh yeah, and at the end it came out that he was pretty much molesting her, but they didn't use those words, but touching on her and doing things to her. And then rewinding time, and she started freaking out, which who wouldn't? And she was like, oh my God. He's like, I'm not that guy. I'm not a creep. You actually are a creep. You are that guy. You actually did this. And it was just what I thought in the beginning of the movie. He actually ended up doing that. Now I'm thinking that, me thinking that had nothing to do with the movie, and it actually even happened in the movie. About, I say, a creep, or somebody who's like a creep would like SA somebody in reverse time, and that's what he was doing. And the guy's wife caught him, and when she had, that's what caused her to freak out, because she just couldn't take it no more. And that's when she started spilling the beans, and that's how the girl found out that the guy was SAing her. And she was like, that's why I've been feeling all creepy and stuff on the inside, and I've been feeling it. And mind you, when he called her off, and he had kissed her in reverse time, and he never explained to her why he reversed the time. And that's when I knew, I said, it had to be something deeper than him just kissing her, because he did something like a predator. Instead of him answering her question of why he reversed the time to explain to her what he was doing to her, he started telling her an emotional story and tugged at her emotions and stuff like that. So kind of find out the wife, she spills the beans, is like, yeah, he been touching on you. So but at the very end, it was the guy who was observing everything and saw how weird it was. And the guy then asked Deborah not to just reverse time from when they started fighting before they totally destroyed each other. He said to reverse time to the very beginning of, not the beginning, but the very beginning of the get together, which it started off, how the movie started off. So that was in 2022, and to watch that before 2020, it would have been totally off to see them just going at each other and like really going. They was really like they was doing some damage to each other. But after living through 2020, And that being, it had to be made like a year after because it came out in 2022, where 2020 was fresh. Like, people was like really like being locked up and isolated and so-called quarantine and stuff like that, where people was like having like, there was domestic violence went up so many times. I had little situations, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you are locked up with people and the games or the games are going to not sustain that situation. The games of trying to act like everything cool and is all gravy and not addressing the real problems, that's not going to sustain when you get to a point where y'all are now in close proximity, and then this is over a period of time. Because they was on the trip for like some days or whatever, so they was, together for some time. So, yeah, coincidence? I think not. Pulling up the movie Deborah and the movie Deborah, the reason why I pulled up the movie Deborah ends up being addressed in the actual movie itself. Coincidence? Yeah, coincidence, but for to think or say that happened and there wasn't a reason it happened. It was a reason it happened, and it all relates. And just the fact that how I pulled up the movie and what I was thinking in the movie. But anyway, in closing, I did find Dark Shadows. It's on I think Pluto TV. They have the movie and the series. So I might end up watching the movie. I think I'm gonna end up watching the movie, but if I don't watch the movie, I think I'm gonna just watch the first episode, but I don't think I'm gonna watch the whole series of Dark Shadows. So I think the purpose of why Dark Shadows came to my mind was fulfilled